Hi, I'm Jan, and this is episode 1 of the Jan Files. So exactly what is that? Well, it's my attempt to read legislation so you don't have to. Let's start with the big, beautiful bill that's over 1,000 pages. This is a pure example of why we need more information than we currently get from reps who often don't read the whole thing or read any of it. And maybe some of the summaries that are good, but they're just not really that detailed. My attempt here is to distill the bill into salient points. I won't cover everything, that would be impossible, but what I think are key changes. So I'm going to talk about what was and what is in the big, beautiful bill as an example. So I'm going to start with that. If I make mistakes, and I'm sure I will, please let me know in the comments. My goal here is to present the facts. I think we all need to know the facts, always, but certainly now. So I'm going to start with the big, beautiful bill, and I'm going to cover SNAP first. I may stop after sections just because it may be that it's easier for us to kind of understand it in sections versus over, but I'm going to figure that out, and we'll figure that out together. So right now, the very first part of the bill, starting on page 13, is SNAP, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's run by the USDA. Currently, it covers 42 million Americans. It costs us about $119 billion a year, and it benefits local communities because every $1 spent gives the community back $1.50 to $1.80, and there's very little fraud. So the fraud that occurs in SNAP currently is 0.1% of the fraud is committed by recipients. The other fraud happens from retailers and from trafficking of the cards, the food stamp cards, the SNAP cards. And so it is not a program full of bloat. What the BBB does, the big, beautiful bill, is it cuts an estimated $300 billion out of the program over a period of 10 years. It's estimated that 3 to 4 million people will lose their food security, will lose their benefits. And that economic potential that it helps local communities goes down to $1.30 rather than the current $1 to 50 cents to $1.80 that the benefits local communities. Now, this plan is run by USDA, is in charge of SNAP. What is called the Thrifty program, the Thrifty Food Plan, is really the delineation of what SNAP is, who gets it, etc. So right now, it can be updated once a year based on food prices, nutritional guidelines, and exceptional circumstances. That is at the discretion of the USDA. Every 5 years, currently, it has to be reevaluated to make sure that the benefits are really meeting the needs of the population. The BBB says you can only update it once a year for CPI, which is a consumer price index, which is, it registers how much inflation. The problem is that the CPI doesn't keep up with food inflation. So other than that, other than weighing in about what the CPI says, so if it's 0.1% inflation, there is no way to raise the benefit level at all. And the idea that you review it every 5 years is not mandatory. Currently, it's mandatory. In the bill, it's not mandatory. So now there is a work requirement for many people, for able-bodied adults without dependents. That's the acronym ABAWD. So what is that it applied to adults up to 55. So if you were age up to 55, unless you had children under the age of 18, you were required to get work in order to get food stamps. Now, it also said that veterans and homeless people were exempt, no matter their age or anything. They didn't have to go and get work no matter what if they were veterans and homeless. Okay, that's what's currently in the bill. Now, currently in the policy, the bill says they raise that age. So from 54, they make it to 65. That's a huge impact on an older population, a population that are often caregivers. They often haven't worked, or they're very low income work. And it's creating a whole new group of people that currently were on food stamps that will not be able to get food stamps unless they meet this requirement, which is not necessarily easy to meet. Now, in 2030, according to the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, veterans and homeless will no longer be able to get food stamps unless they have some other issue. I'm not sure about the homeless because they don't really delineate how that would work. Or even actually the veterans. I mean, if you're disabled, you're still able to get food stamps. Those things will still go on. But if you're a veteran and you get food stamps, you don't have to work right now. That changes in 2030. The same thing for homeless, according to the Big Beautiful Bill. So there was legislation. There was a representative who wanted to add to the bill, letting the veterans know that this was going to sunset. That was voted down. So that never made the bill. There is no notification to veterans. So, and the other distinction here is that currently children under 18, if you have a child under 18, you don't have to work. That number has changed to 7. So if you have a 10-year-old, you have to look for work. That's the new change, right? If you have an 11-year-old, you have to look for work. If you have an 8-year-old, you have to look for work. Obviously, there are still people who are going to get benefits from, if they're disabled or et cetera, but this dramatically changes who is on the rolls. Now, within this, their states have a role in this, in the USD, and obviously the administering of SNAP benefits. And states have had in the past the ability, based on unemployment records, unemployment in the area numbers, to increase the number of people on the rolls because it's difficult to get a job. Right now, they could exempt those 8% of those people who are supposed to work. If they say you can't get a job here, we understand that, you're exempt and you can get food benefits. That the state was in charge of that, and it was an 8%. They could, add 8% to their rolls. And the waivers also currently, what's on the current policy, would allow for hot areas of high unemployment or insufficient jobs. Same thing, right? That's in the current provision. So the states understand their towns, their cities, their counties. They know that some people, certainly in very, very rural areas, are not going to be able to get a job. So the Big Beautiful Bill, that was what is current under current policy. That current bill reduces that exemption to 1%. So the states can only add 1% to the rolls based on unemployment numbers or low or underemployment. And it eliminates the fact that before I told you they had insufficient jobs, in the current policy, if there's not enough jobs in an area, that is gone. So I'm hoping, I know this is kind of a lot of information to throw at you, but, and I'll get better at it, but these are really some of the basics of the changes in SNAP, and there's more. So one of the things that beneficiaries now can deduct their costs of utilities, including the internet, which didn't impact their benefits. Those costs were covered and it didn't impact their benefits. That's completely going away. So, and the only people who can actually use those and get those deductions are the elderly and disabled. So if you live in an area where your utility bill is really high, that currently that's you get your benefit is adjusted for that. Going forward, it is not. So that's a substantial loss in benefits to many people. And the idea that you're not covering the internet for people looking for jobs. Now, the big deal, which the parliamentarian has weighed in on, was a shift of costs to the states. Currently, the federal government pays 100% of benefits. The change, and this is in the current policy. And currently, the administrative costs are split between the state and the federal government 50-50. So what's changing in the big, beautiful bill is that now states will be responsible for 5% of the benefits paid out. They will also now, instead of sharing the administrative costs 50-50, it's going to be 75 for the states, 25 for the federal government. Now, what also impacts the benefit numbers in the new bill, at least this is what they were trying to do, is the fact that if the state has an error processing rate, okay, the administration of the benefits, there are error processing rates. Currently, there is an incentive to lower those error processing rates. What goes forward is the exact opposite. So if a state has 6% to above 6%, they have to pay 15% of the benefits. That goes up the higher the error processing rates goes up until I think the cap is 25% of the benefits are going to have to be paid by states. I think you can figure out how that impacts certainly the lower states, the southern states, the poorer states, and the people within those. They're not going to be able to handle a lot of the beneficiaries and being able to pay for that. Now, currently, there is some eligibility for undocumented people. Right now, if you are a green card holder, you can get SNAP benefits after you've been here for 5 years. And refugees, asylum needs, including victims of trafficking and domestic violence, are able to get food stamps after a year of being here. And also people who have been brought here, like the Haitians in Springfield, Illinois, I believe it was. I hope I got that right. The Haitians there are under temporary protected status. So people that are under that were also eligible for food stamps. The only people now are green card holders who have been here for 5 years, saying that stays, or an American citizen. That's it. So if you are a victim of domestic violence and you're here and you're applying for refugee, asylum status, you will not get food stamps. And lastly, in the program is something called the Nutrition, Education, and Obesity Prevention Grant. It's had a huge impact, especially on kids. and this is current. It helps them. It's an education program, and it's done in grants, so it can go to communities and where they need it to inform people of what good nutrition is, right? What is good nutrition? A lot of people don't know. And it's, their cooking class, there's all kinds of things that kids are involved with and adults are involved with. So they learn how to eat better, manage their nutrition better, and as a result, obviously, are healthy. That completely goes away. It goes. There is no nutrition education program. So I'm going to stop there for now. I will add another piece to this, but let's go through, take your time, go through this, see if you have questions, and send them back to me. I will be quickly addressing in episode 2 the continuation of what happens with regard to the subsidies for farmers. So we'll take that next. It is what the cuts to SNAP, hear this clearly, the cuts to SNAP are supposed to go and benefit farmers. So that's what's coming next. Thank you.